G'day all, Ben here, East West. This is going to be part 10 of our series of building a basic charting application using Python and tkinter. So let's just jump into the code. So in part 9 we left this MA function half complete, and in this part we're going to complete this. There's a few more things we need to do. So what we are going to do first is, if you remember, we haven't actually programmed in this OK button. So what we're doing so far is we're selecting the type, we're giving it a length, we're choosing the color, and then once all that's done, we're going to hit OK, and then the program has to carry out yet another function. So because this function is going to be specific for the MA study, we're going to add it as a sub function of this add MA study function. If that makes sense. So we need to define it, of course. So the first thing we're going to do is define, we'll call this study on OK. Okay, so it's like on the OK button being hit. This is what we need to do. So we just need to collect a little bit of information here. So we just need to get the type. So this is all just MA get. We need to get the length, but we just need to make sure that the length is an integer, meaning it's a number, not a string, because I think at the moment it's being displayed as a string, so we need to get that as an entry. And then of course we just need to get the color that's been selected. So all we've really done here is we've collected all the information that the user's requested. Okay. Now the next thing we're doing here is we're just going to give a name to the data that we've collected. So in this case we'll just call it MA column name. So the selected MA type, so when it goes into the data frame, it'll come up saying simple or exponential, MA 50, 100, whatever length that you've done. We just need to tag that in there. And now we're just going to bring in this little if statement, which is going to calculate the moving average. So this is pretty simple, right? So if it's simple, we're just going to going to add to the df full, we're going to add the column name. So this is going to be the column name. And then this is where we use the TA library. So ta.trend.sma indicator, the df full close, and the window is going to be the window selected length MA. So that's why we've collected all this data. So we can pass it through the TA library to calculate which type of to calculate the values of the moving averages that we've selected. So this would be where if you wanted a double exponential or something like that, this is where you'd sort of add in that calculation. But we need to do the calculation so that the chart knows what to plot. So the next thing we need to do is, this is a function that we're going to write next. This is going to be how we update the chart with the study. Okay, so this function's going to take, this will make sense when it's written. It ties back in. We're going to take the column name, and we're going to take, we don't need that as yet, pardon me, we're going to take the selected MA color. So we've got the column name and the color, and then we're just going to close that. This study window.destroy just closes that window. Okay, so that is the function of what happens when we hit the OK button. And now, very simply, we just need to actually create the OK button. So just watch the indentation. It should be in line with the main code because everything's indented off the first define statement. So we just create the OK button the same way as we have done, and the command will be on OK. So the command is this that we've just written. So once again, collect the value, give collect the data, give the column a name, work out the moving average values, then run this function, which we will do in a minute, then close the window. That's it. That's all it does. Okay, and we just use the standard spacing there of 10. I'm just going to use. We could possibly shrink that down to 5, maybe. I don't think it really matters. Just however you like it displayed yourself. And that is it for the MA study function. Now, this sort of thing is going to be reused for other studies. It'll be a very similar type of layout. Some of them get a little bit stickier. But we will work on that. This is just the basics. So the next thing we need to do is we need to update the chart with the study. So once we've got all that information, we need to replot the chart. So I'm just going to take you out of this code and just give you a quick example of what actually needs to happen. So you don't need to code any of this. This is just a working example showing you what the mechanics would be of this function that we need to write. So these are the libraries that we would have already imported. They would already be there. And now the next thing we need to do is just to get some data. So this would already have been done in the code as well. And then we need to make the chart itself. So this would also already be done in the fetch and display chart. Okay, so this is what's basically happened in the fetch and display chart, and this is what it brings up. But what we need to do now is we need to add, or what we want to do is we want to add a plot to this. So before we can add a plot, we need to actually add the data in. So this is the data frame. So this is what this statement is reading off. Here you can see DF. Pardon me. You can see DF. That's what it's reading off this. So we need to actually add the moving average itself into the data frame. So that's why if we bring in this statement, this is just exactly what we were doing on that on OK button. So we're just calculating the MA, and when we bring up the data frame again, we've got the MA value there. So now that this value's there, we can actually replot the chart with the value. So to do that, what we actually do is we make a variable which is equal to mpf.makeAddPlot. Okay, so we're going to plot this, okay, df.ma, and which is what we've called, so we're going to plot this dfma, which is what we've called the column. The type will just make a line, the color will just make blue, the width will just make 1. Okay, so once we've done that and we've declared that variable, we just need to replot the chart. So replotting the chart is pretty simple. We just go, I mean, this is a little bit different obviously from what's in the code, but just think of it as what we're just recalling this line. Okay, but we're just putting this add plot, and the add plot is equal to the variable that we've declared right here. Okay, so when we do that, we're just replotting the chart, but we've got this function add plot. So let's just run this. And now you can see that the moving average has been put in. So this function that we're about to write, that's effectively all it's doing, okay? It's just taking all that info and then just replotting the chart with our request. Once again, that was just an example. You don't need to put any of this into your main code. Okay, so we're going to write a new function. Just, of course, make sure that all your functions you write are above the main window. That's important. So now what we're going to do is we're going to define, let's say it's going to be called update. Oh, we know what it's called because it's got to be called this, because that's what we've just put in there. So we'll define this update chart with study. That's going to be the name. So the variables that we're going to use, we're going to pass in here, is we're going to pass in a study column. We're going to pass in the color, the type. I'll just leave it as line. I mean, you can see here where you could customize it if you want. If you didn't want your moving average in a line, and maybe you don't, maybe you want a ribbon or something like that. You can go deep down the rabbit hole any way you want. But I'm just going to keep it simple here, call it line. The width I've just left at 0.5. Maybe we could just make that 1. But once again, that'd be something you could vary with user options if you want. And then of course we just need to put our colon there. So now we need to introduce some stuff here. So don't type this in, but remember this is the line we just used to create that variable to make the study plot. So what we're going to do this time around, because we don't want to call it MA, right? Because we're going to use this function for all sorts of different indicators. So what we're going to do is we're going to write it like this. We're going to say study plot equals mpf dot make add plot, the same thing we did here. We're going to go df full, but we're going to declare the study column. Okay, so here we declared MA, but we're going to use the study column. Okay, and then the type will just leave as line. The color will just leave as color, which is going to be passed in here. So actually, I probably don't even need to do that. I'll just leave it there because I don't think it's going to matter, and the width will equal 1. So it's the same thing. This is probably doubling up a bit on this. I'll think about that. We might be able to tidy that up. But either way, that's the line of code we need. So we'll just get rid of that because that was just for an example. Okay, I might just tighten that up a little bit. So the next thing we need to do is we're going to add this, okay, to a list. Now we haven't declared this list as yet, so we're going to go back up here into the global variables, and we're going to declare a new variable, a global variable. and pardon me, this variable is going to be called addplots equals, and it's going to be a list. Okay, so we're going to use those square brackets, so just make sure you run that as well. Okay, so we've got that list declared, and now we're going to add this line of code. We're going to add that, or we're going to add the we're going to add the variable here to this list. Okay, now the next thing we need to do is to simply what we're going to do is we're going to go symbol equals symbol entry.get. So we're just going to re-grab the symbol, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to rerun this fetch and display chart function, the original one, but we've got to pass something a little bit different here. Okay, so addplots is going to equal addplots, because now we want to rerun that, but we want to apply these new this new MA column that we've got in the data frame. So we've got to now go back up to the fetch and display chart function and just do a little bit of adjustment there. So back up here, we need to pass another variable that goes in here. So the variable we're going to put in here is addplots, and then we're going to say equals a list. Okay, we're going to pass a list into there. Okay, so the next thing, or the final thing we need to do is we need to just adjust, we need to readjust our plotting. So down here, remember there was that option that we could put in called addplot. So we're going to put that in here. We're going to say addplot equals addplots. Okay, so addplots, of course, is that list that we created with the variable in there. So that's all we need to do. So what it means is that if we don't actually request any indicator to be placed on the chart when it's typed up the first time, well, that'll be 0. So it will just, well, it won't ignore it. It'll just say, well, there's nothing to add, so I'm just going to do the normal chart up to here. But what this also allows us to do is to place multiple moving averages onto our chart at one time. So I think this should be pretty much ready to go now. So let's run it. Actually, before we run this, I've just realized I've missed a line of code, so my bad. Sorry, so just make sure that this is in your line of code, function for adding the MA. This is why I run them first, because sometimes you just miss something. So actually what we didn't do here is we didn't put in a spacing. So when we don't put the spacing in, the padding, it won't show up. So just go back to your add MA study and make sure that this line of code is in there. So once that's in, this will be ready to run. So let's just run it. So now this is in there. We've got moving averages already in there. When we hit add study, that'll bring up our little window. So let's do this simple moving average. Let's make this red, and we'll just leave it at 20, and we hit OK, and there's the moving average put in there. And let's just add another study now, and let's do the 50. So we're doing the 20-day moving average and the 50-day moving average. And if we just hit OK, then the 50-day moving average gets put in there. So straight away, like, this is what I've been encouraging you to think. Like, straight away when you think about this, you think, oh, okay, well, here's a cross. Like, could I put a marker above that cross? And the answer is yes, you could. These are the sort of little projects you could think about to add on to this, because that's what I want you to do, to think about what you can add to the very basic layout that we've got going on here to make this thing useful for you. Okay, so I'll leave it there for now. We're moving through this. We're getting closer. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. See you in the next video. Bye for now.